Welcome to CC19's Demo Day. Thank you so much for joining us here for an exciting night of presentations. We're going to have 4 amazing apps on display by our students. So this is Demo Day. And if you want to stay tuned with us, you can tag us on social media, hashtag CCDEMODAY, and you can also tag us at Code Chrysalis on our social needs. And before we begin, we want to say a big thank you to several folks out in the community that have helped support and mentor our students throughout the program. We want to thank Stripe for being our API night partner with our students, and especially to Daniel Heffernan, Kenta Labur, and Christoph Nakazawa for always making this happen. We also want to thank Stella from Google and Leo from Encoda, and we want to thank our mock interviewers. So Manita, Bill, Fraser, and Matthew, thank you so much for all your help. So tonight, why are we here? We are here currently in the introduction of this event, and then we're going to move into senior project presentations. So we're going to have 4 tonight, and then we're going to have some closing words. So without much further ado, I'm going to give it away to our students from the CC19 Immersive Program to share their projects with you. And first up, we're going to have Team Krakens presenting their app, Get Guides. And their app is connecting experienced tour guides to tourists looking to explore Japan. I can't wait to hear more. All right, Team Krakens, please take it away.
Thank you, Shivani. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are Team Krakens, and today we are happy to present our app, Get Guides. Before we take a look at the app, allow us to quickly introduce the team. My name is Musin, and I am the tech lead.
My name is Will, and I worked on the full stack on this project.
My name is Mattia, and I also worked on the full stack.
My name is Chris, and I also worked on the full stack.
Thank you, everyone. Everyone worked on the full stack. Let's take a look at the app then. So what is Get Guides? Get Guides is a platform that connects freelance tour guides to tourists. When organizing a trip somewhere, finding and hiring a guide is currently the only step that requires going through some sort of professional service, such as a travel agency or a travel consultant. With Get Guides, we aim to free the user from that burden and allow them to directly access and interact with guides. The value that we aim to provide is, for the traveler, the choice of finding guides at an affordable price, or even for free if the guides are volunteers. And for the guides, schedule flexibility and increased revenue. Our market is currently Japan because we are all based here, and that allows us to experiment with new features. But we are considering eventually launching the same service in multiple countries. So now Mattia will tell us more about who we built this app for.
Thank you, Musin. So during our development process, we decided to sketch out a few personas that represent our users. So the first persona is Satomi Nakazawa. She is a retired cabin attendant. She has lived and worked in Italy for 10 years. Now that she is back in Japan, she wants a way to stay connected with the Italian community. Our next persona is Ota Hikaru. He is a university student and has a passion for the English language. He enjoys languages exchanges, and this is a perfect opportunity for him to practice his English skill and show tourists his hometown. Our last persona is Charles Jacob. He loves traveling and books his own flights and hotels. Right now, he has to book guides through a travel agency, and he would like to remove the middleman from the equation.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our demo. For our demo, we have 2 user scenarios prepared for you. First, we're going to register a new account in our application for a guide. For a guide registration, we need a little more information than for a traveler because, of course, the guides want to explain who they are and give a bit of information about themselves to the travelers so that they can lead them through the city better, for example. Secondly, we will show the booking process from the perspective of a traveler. There we won't go through the registration because it's pretty much the same with a little less information that we need, and just show off how to book and how to talk to a guide. Let's get started. So First, as you might imagine, we click register, and we are using authentication with Google accounts here. So you can sign up directly with your Google account, and your name and your email address will already be pre-filled. We won't share this with anybody, don't worry. And then we are asking for a little more information in case you want to register a guide account. First, a short bio to introduce yourself. Secondly, the cities that you would like to give tours in. Thirdly, the languages that you can speak and that you could guide people in. Then your available dates, as well as lastly, an approximate rate. Of course, this is up to negotiation with the travelers later on too. And that's it. After filling this information in, you will be directed directly to your profile page where you can review all the information. And this is the page that all the travelers can see and look at. You can, of course, if you want to change some information, directly change it here. In our example, we will change the bio and give a little bit more information. And then after saving these changes, you can directly see them on your profile. And this is it for our guide registration. We will now switch over to a second phone, and we will log into a traveler account, and we will take my account as an example here. So after going in through Google one more time, we will be directly sent to the search page. And in here, I can, of course, select the location that I would like to be guided in, the language in which I would like the tour to happen, and the date that I have in mind for the tour. Afterwards, I can select and see all the available guides for this combination of items. In this example, we have already talked about Ota Hikaru. We can look at his profile, see what his bio says, see when he's available. But in this case, we'll stick with the newly created guide, Mattia. Once again, we can look at his profile, see if the places we want to visit and the languages fit our requirements, and then directly chat to him. But before we do that, we should, of course, select a date, just so that our system and our guide have a little more information. And after we click chat, we are directly sent to the Messages app where we can directly talk to the guides. And we have direct interaction between the guide and the traveler. In here, both the guide and the traveler can discuss the details of the trip, what they would like to do, where they would like to go, if the guide has some more ideas, what could be visited, if they would like to have lunch together, all the usual things that you usually would discuss with the travel agency, but now we can discuss this not face to face, but person to person directly without the involvement of a third party. After this discussion is finished, once both sides are happy, the guide can then prepare a booking for the traveler, and the traveler will find this booking in their menu. And the traveler can here review all the items, see the time and the place and the date, and a quick description of the tour. And after the tour is completed, he can return to this window and pay the guide directly through Stripe in case this was a professional tour. This is, of course, not real credit card information, so don't take notes. It doesn't help. And that is it. After the payment process, we will be sent back to the search and everything is done. Thank you very much for looking at our demo. Next, we will talk about our tech stack.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that great demonstration. So let's have a look at the tech stack and how we are doing all of this in the background. So first of all, having a look at our front end, we decided to go with VueJS and Vuex. We did this because we really wanted to have a one-page layout for our app, and the component setup of Vue is really great for what we wanted to do. We were also able to keep our states in our store, which made that accessible everywhere in our app. We also decided on the front end to go for a framework called Quasar, which allowed us to build up on Vue and add a little bit more complexity and give the app a really professional view, which I hope you would agree from seeing the demonstration. And of course, we have using the Stripe API as well. Coming to the back end, we decided to use Python in contrast to the JavaScript in the front end. We did this because we have a little bit of experience on the team, but the driving factor was we all really wanted to upskill and learn something new, and we thought that this project was a great opportunity to do that. We are, of course, using Flask with Python. And then in between the front end and the back end, we have two forms of communication. One of those is HTTPS, which is what we're getting our standard requests for data through. And we also use Socket.io. This was for our bidirectional real-time communication between the client and the server, and we use this for our real-time messaging app. Finally, the database, we decided to go with MongoDB, and we did that as it perfectly suited the needs of our app, and we were able to connect the different tables in the database without the need for things like link tables. Thanks. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the challenges that we faced during this project.
Thank you very much, Will. One of the interesting consequences of using Python in the backend was the difficulty in understanding the meaning behind some of the errors that we were getting, such as this lovely error right here that we had the pleasure to debug. Getting errors that we could not immediately interpret slowed us considerably in the beginning, but it was a good experience because we quickly learned how to deal with Python's quirks and syntax gotchas.
Okay, next, using Socket.io, we were aware that it was supported by both Python and JavaScript, so it was an easy decision for us to make choosing Python. However, we did realize during the project that the documentation is not quite as robust for Python, and we were needing to look up really new documentation, perhaps even only a week or two old. So a bit of a shout out to Miguel Grimberg there, who writes the documentation for Flask Socket.io. That was super helpful for us, and we would have struggled without his documentation.
The third challenge we faced was related to something called service workers. This is something that not everybody might have heard of before because it's part of a bigger framework, so to speak, that's called PWA, which stands for Progressive Web Apps. PWA is a technology that allows you to get web applications onto your phone without having to go through the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And you can still install these on your phone, but for this installation process or during this installation process, service workers become active, and these do a lot of things in the background for you, but they make the development process a little bit harder for us because things that we as developers are used to, like hot reloading, simply don't work well with the service workers. So it took us a while to figure this out, disable the service workers for the time being, and then enable them again once we were done with the actual development process. And next, let's talk about our learnings for a bit.
One thing that we quickly realized and learned is that deploying is not necessarily the last step of a project. Especially when using technologies such as sockets, we came to the conclusion that deploying and setting up automatic deployment should be done as soon as possible to verify that the initial setup is done correctly and eventually change course of action before going too deep into the development process.
Next, as a team, I think we really learned the value of using external frameworks. We weren't completely decided as a team whether we wanted to add on something like Quasar, for example, in our front-end development. But given time constraints of the project and the professional image of the app that we wanted to get to, it was really great for us to use a framework, and I think we all saw the value by the end.
Next, I insisted on bringing this point up again, is we learned a lot about progressive web applications. You will learn more about this tonight because out of our 4 groups, I think 3 of us have worked with progressive web apps and we all have made different experience, but overall, I think we all made very good experiences. And I would ask everybody to try this out for themselves. If you are a developer and you haven't tried this out yet, try it. It's really interesting how quickly you can make a web application work on your phone.
And finally, we learned how to effectively share our knowledge. Each of our members brought unique experience in the technologies that we use to build our app. And so we decided to start our development with some mob programming. We ran through the core functionality of our app from the backend to the front end and brought our team members up to speed on the relevant technologies. What this allows us to do is save a considerable amount of time during the latter part of our dev cycle by making the debug process much easier.
And that was it for our presentation. Thank you everyone for tuning in and for taking the time to listen to us. We hope you liked it. Feel free to check out our app or get in touch with us on GitHub or LinkedIn at the following links. We're really excited to hear your opinions or any questions that you might have. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Yay! That was awesome. Thank you for sharing Team Kraken's, your wonderful app Get Guides. I'm looking forward to going exploring with the help of the wonderful people available you have on your app. All right, so next up we have the Gastronauts, and they're going to be presenting their app called Savor. Food has no boundaries, taste has no limits. Swipe and look, savor to cook. All right, the Gastronauts, please take it away.
All right. Hello, and thank you all for being here. We are the Gastronauts, and we are very proud to present to you our senior project, Savor. Before we dive deeper into what we spent the last 3 weeks building, let me introduce myself and the team. My name is Johan Testrup, and I was the tech lead for this project. I also worked as a full stack engineer and a kitchen chef.
Hello everyone, my name is Gaetan Karst. I worked as a front-end engineer during this project, and I worked also as the pastry chef.
Hey there, my name is Yoshio Hasegawa. I worked as a front-end engineer, and I was also the sous chef.
And I'm Mark Herring. I worked on the back end in the UI UX design and as taster.
So what is Savor? Let me first explain what that word means. Well, it means to taste good food or drink and enjoy it to its fullest. Quite a beautiful word if you ask me. Our app lets you easily find and explore over 50,000 recipes from a multitude of cultures so that you can savor what you eat while widening your kitchen repertoire. It's really very simple. You open our app, no sign-in is needed, start swiping on our wealth of recipes, and find a recipe you like and get cooking. Our app is built around these key features, which we will explore more in detail in our demo later on. First up, the menu screen. This is where you swipe on your recommended recipes, much like a modern dating app. Custom filtering. Savor allows you to get specific without being a hassle to configure. Let's say you prefer to not eat any meat. Let Savor know in the filter section and it will only recommend dishes that do not include meat. Savor offers you smart recommendations based on the recipes you currently have in your Savored list, making finding a recipe you'll save to cook even easier to find. And last but definitely not least, the truffle shuffle button. Hit it if you want the app to make a decision for you. This now leads us into the values and vision on top of which Savor was founded. Our tagline encapsulates these. Food has no boundaries, taste has no limits, swipe and look, savor to cook. Savor aspires to be inspiring and all-inclusive. Food is not limited to just tasting good. It can also be a springboard for you to improve your own life and your surroundings. Our app is easy to use, and delivering a great user experience will always be priority number one. Last but not least, we'd like you to savor what you eat. Mark will now take you through some interesting facts and who we imagine will benefit the most from using our app. Take it away.
Thank you, Johan. So we took a user-centered design approach when developing this app. Of course, an app has no purpose without users, so we wanted to focus on their needs and requirements. First of all, though, let me show you some quick facts. So did you know 5 is the average number of recipes a person knows how to cook? And 32 is the percentage of people with food sensitivity or dietary requirements. And finally, 40 to 44 is the global average number of hours a person works each week. So we lead quite busy lives. And with this in mind, who are our prospective users? Well, first of all, we have Simon. He's a data analyst in the city. He works 9 to 5. He commutes every day. He occasionally hosts dinner parties, and he loves cooking, or at least the idea of cooking. So he needs inspiration for new recipes, quick and easy access to recipe information, and an engaging way to learn new recipes to impress his friends. Next, we have Jennifer. She's a software engineer, so she works remotely a lot of the time. There's no commute. Her husband is vegetarian, and she has 2 children. So there are some dietary requirements there, and she needs custom filtering options, interesting foods to capture her children's attention. So from these personas, we identified 3 key needs we wanted to solve. First of all, inspiration. So make cooking fun and exciting. Next up, indecision. Make it easy for users to choose recipes quickly with no fuss. And finally, customization, filtering for those who need extra options. So now I'll pass you over to Yoshio, who will show you how we translated these ideas into our Savor app.
Thank you so much, Mark. So I'd like to present to you the Savor application. And so imagine I'm someone like Simon. I had just gotten off work and I'm on my way home. Maybe I'm in the train. I know I'm going to make a stop at the grocery store, but I just have no idea what I'm going to cook tonight. And I'm sure a lot of you have been there before too. Thinking about what to cook can sometimes be a hassle. So he opens up Savored and he's immediately presented with the menu screen, and no sign-in is needed, like Johan mentioned. And you can instantly start swiping on a wealth of recipes. So maybe he decides to swipe on some of these recipes, and swiping right means that you like the recipe and that you'd like to savor it. And if you decide you want to pass on a recipe, you can swipe left. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more about the recipe before making a decision, you can click on the information button that's located in the center. When you click that button, you're presented with some quick information, such as a summary and the ingredients, and finally, the instructions. Maybe you want to take a look at how long this recipe is going to take to cook before making a final decision. So now that Simon has swiped right on a few recipes, I want to show you the Savored list. You can get to the Savored list by clicking on the bottom right-hand corner here on the Savored list button. And this is going to navigate you over to your Savored list, where the recipes you swiped right on are populated here. Say Simon decided that he wants to try Valentine's chicken marsala. He can click on that recipe, and what that's going to do is load the recipe screen. And as soon as the recipe loads, he can look at the same information as was shown before. He can get a quick summary on the recipe. And since he's going to make a stop at the grocery store, he can take a look at the ingredients so he knows what to buy. And finally, when he gets home, he can start cooking. It's really that easy. Now, say a user wants to remove some of the recipes from his Savored list, you can actually swipe on these recipes as well. Click the red button to remove them from your Savored list. And it's really that simple for the user that just needs something quick and easy. Now imagine I'm someone like Jennifer Sykes, and I need to filter some of these recipes because I have dietary restrictions. So for that user, we have created the burger filter on the top right-hand corner where you can set some filters. Uh-oh, it looks like you have to create a Savor account or log in to apply these filters. This gets you free access to our smart recommendation feature. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close that. And this brings us to the chef page. And you can see the chef hat on the bottom left-hand corner here. If I click that, you're prompted to log in. And since we don't have an account yet, you can navigate down here and click on the sign up button highlighted in our Savor red. And this is going to ask for some simple information such as your email. So why don't I go ahead and enter that here. And then you have to enter in your password, of course. And this is going to register you to Savor and authenticate you. This brings you to your chef tab. Right now, there's not a lot of information here, but you'll see it populate later on. Now that we've created an account, you can navigate back to the menu screen and start applying some filters. So the first filter you'll see is the Smart Recommendations filter. And this is where you can set it to true. And what this does is activate our machine learning so that the menu screen is going to present you with recipes that you're more likely to like based on your previous decisions. You can also filter by dish type. If you want a dessert or a beverage, you can select it here, as well as cuisine. If you want to look for a specific cuisine, you can select it here. There are some other filters, but for the sake of the demo, I'll go ahead and click vegetarian. Then I'll click apply. That's going to re-render our recipes on the menu screen. And now Jennifer can freely swipe left or right on these recipes. Now, maybe Jennifer is someone who isn't very picky. She's swiping right on a large number of these recipes and navigates back to the Savored list. Now she's presented with a fairly decent list of recipes. Now, she might be overwhelmed at this list, and for that indecisive user, we have created the Truffle Shuffle button. And what this does is randomize a recipe for you, so you don't have to make a decision. So if I go ahead and click that, it's going to shoot some fun confetti and then navigate you to a random recipe. And we created this just for that indecisive user, so they don't have to think about what they're going to cook. And what this is going to do is load the recipe screen, just like we saw a couple of times before. And once that recipe screen loads, Jennifer can simply look at the ingredients and again, look at the instructions and start cooking for herself and maybe her family. So now that Jennifer has created a pretty decent sized Savored list, we personalized Savor so that you get an individual feel for the app. And if you come back to the chef screen, you'll see that you now have a taste profile. And based on your previous decisions, it will tell you a little bit about the cuisines you've liked. And it looks like for Jennifer, her most savored cuisine is Mediterranean, but it looks like Indian food is a close second. Now that's the end of my demonstration. Thank you very much. And I'd like to pass it over to Gaetan to talk about our tech stack.
Thank you very much, Isho, for this incredible demo. So what technology did we use to build this app? Well, we decided to go for React Native and TypeScript. And there's different reasons behind this choice. First, we wanted our app to be cross-platform, meaning that our app needed to be available both on iOS and Android. Then we really liked the development comfort that React Native and TypeScript were providing us. And last argument, but not least, React Native is actually a framework that is extremely well documented. And this was actually a very useful point when we needed to debug our app. For the backend, we decided to go with GraphQL and Firebase authentication for the authentication system. For the database, we use PostgreSQL and Sequelize as a query builder. And now I would like to talk about one of the biggest challenges that we faced during this project, and this is a swiping feature. As you can see on the current GIF, the swiping feature is actually pretty simple. It's just a card stack on which you put some recipe cards and you can swipe left or right depending on your preferences. Well, under the hood, the swiping feature is actually based on a lot of trigonometry. And while trigonometry is actually not a problem itself, we decided after 2 days of research that it would take us too much time to implement everything from scratch. So we decided to use a library that would allow us to focus on the swiping logic rather than the swiping implementation. And while there is a lot of advantages of using a library, we faced some roadblocks. And one of those roadblocks was actually re-rendering the recipe stack when the filters were changing. In the example of Jennifer, when she wants to be provided with some vegetarian dish, she will go to the filter page. And once she apply the vegetarian filters, we need to provide her with an entirely new recipe card stack. It also means that when we re-render this recipe card stack, all the recipe cards needs to have access to the global states that has changed when Jennifer applied the filters. From those roadblocks, we actually got a lot of learnings. And one of the biggest learning that we had is that now we actually know what is the core mechanics of the swiping features and how to work with it actually. Because even though we choose to not go with the trigonometrical implementation, we actually know that it is actually the best approach and the most scalable one for long-term projects. We also learn how to re-render card components and card stacks according to global states that were managed by Redux on our project. Last learning, but not least, if you and your team wants to implement a totally new feature into your app, it is actually crucial to select a library flexible enough that it can handle all the changes that this feature will bring to your app and the global functioning of your app. And now off to Mark that will explain everything about the future of Savor.
Thank you, Gaetan. So we will implement 3 further features as part of our roadmap. Now, first of all, we're going to call a modes feature. So currently our app is in what we call staying in mode. However, imagine you are out in town with friends and you want to find a restaurant, not necessarily a recipe, but a restaurant nearby. You can click on our going out mode, swipe left or right to savor restaurants. Next, we will enhance the machine learning. So currently we track recipes that users like and recommend similar dishes to that user. However, we would like to further the sophistication of this feature by tracking recipes users like at certain times, for example, at the weekend, after work, during holiday periods. And thirdly, we want to create a food lovers network feature. So build a network of fellow food enthusiasts and share the recipe you are cooking tonight. So that's it for now. And I'll pass you over to Johan, who will show you where you can find our app.
Well, thank you all very much for listening to our presentations. If you are interested in becoming part of the group of exclusive testers of the app, scan the QR code above the Truffle Shuffle button on the current slide. From everyone at Savored, thank you very much.
Shivani, I think you're muted, by the way.
Thank you, Yoshio. It happens to the best of us. I was saying that I often struggle with deciding what to eat for dinner literally every day. So I'm looking forward to truffle shuffling my way to some new yummy recipes with Savored. Thank you so much, the gastronauts. And next, we're going to have Fruity Raptors, and they are going to present to you their app, OneRoof. OneRoof is an app to help households connect, stay organized, and thrive. Sounds super useful. So Fruity Raptors, please feel free to take it away.
Thanks very much, Shivani. So we are the team Fruity Raptors, and we're here to present you our app, OneRoof. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. So my name is Pete Griffith. I was tech lead on this project, and I worked both in the back end and in the front end.
My name is Evan Trujillo. I worked in the back end as well as DevOps.
My name is Jesus Tamjaru, and I was a full stack dev on this application.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Kurosaki Rodriguez, and I worked on the full stack for this application.
Thanks, guys. So today we're going to go into a really brief intro of OneRoof and then show you a demo. We'll talk about the construction of the app, sort of the tech stack that's behind it. We'll go into some challenges and some learnings that we had, and then we'll talk about the future of OneApp. So without further ado, what is OneRoof? So OneRoof in general is a messaging and organizational app that helps households connect, function, and thrive. And it's built around two pillars, one of which is a messaging platform, around which is built an ecosystem of modules that users can choose whether or not to use or purchase. So who is OneRoof for? Meet Anna, please. Anna lives in Yokohama with her family. So Anna has two daughters who attend international school and a husband who works late. Now, Anna texts with her husband on SMS. She texts with her youngest daughter on Messenger, but she likes to use Line for her oldest daughter. They also use a lot of Google Calendar to try and sync up all their activities, but they have a whiteboard on the wall that gathers dust, and there used to be a chore list on the fridge, but that's sort of covered in photos, and everything is just very disorganized. Luckily, she hears about OneRoof. And with OneRoof, she can bring all of these together in one place. With OneRoof, Anna can keep all of her family communication in one clean, searchable location. She can use channels for separate topics, and she can DM members of her family as well. She can utilize the inbuilt to-do list module to keep track of her family's to-dos. And crucially, she can choose other add-on modules, such as a chore organizer or a kitchen helper or a calendar or a photo book, all to suit her family's needs, and she can choose what it is that she wants to have. Now, Anna's daughters love OneRoof because they can chat with their parents while keeping their family and social lives separate. So they don't have to share any social media information with their parents in order to communicate. And they can also digitize all the household organizational tools and keep them in one place at their fingertips. But OneRoof is not just for families, because Anna actually heard about OneRoof from her brother Vern, who lives in a share house. Vern and his housemates like to use OneRoof to silo all their house-related conversations in one place. They use it to plan house events and weekly dinners, and they use the chore assigner to assign monthly chores randomly and equitably. So that's OneRoof, a household communication and organization made easy and fun. Having said all that, I think it's time to jump into a demo.
Thank you very much, Pete. So here we have the live version of our app. Now, once at first, when you register, you will be prompted two options. One is to join an existing home or to create a new one. And to join an existing home, you basically just need a house key. And I will show you later how to get that. But for now, I will log in as Vern. So when first you log in, you will go to this living room area or the group chat, and you can see everyone's talking to each other on our app. And if you first register, you might want to head up here on the top right to go to the profile page and upload a photo of yourself. Just that added personalization. Let's say here, for example, here's a little preview. You can press upload and you're ready to go. And of course, you can just keep chat. Let's say, hey guys, as we're in there. And with that house key, if you can go to the profile page here and you can copy a house key, and then you can just distribute that to whoever you want to join your home. Now, let's say that Kiani here, which is Anna. Anna is the mom in this case. Kiani has a birthday coming up, and Vern wants to organize a secret birthday party for Kiani. Obviously, you don't want to chat in the group chat because Kiani would know. So Vern has the option to use a direct message. So he will direct message mom here, which again is Anna. And just to remind her, hey, we have Kiani's birthday coming up. I'm going to remind the mother of the daughter's birthday. Great. Now, OneRoof also comes with a to-do list. With this to-do, it is a linked to-do, meaning that everyone in the house has the same to-do. And as you can see here, we have some to-dos already here. Let's say walk Toto. That was assigned to Priscilla 1 day ago, so Toto has not been walked for a day. Now, of course, you can add a new to-do. Let's say plow the snow here. And when you assign this to-do to someone, for example, I am Vern, so I'm going to assign this to myself. You can see on the top left that a notification came up, just to remind Vern that Vern has something to do. And for a limited time, you can activate the Shores module for free. When you activate the Shores module, hit submit here, you can see in the app drawer, Shores came up. Now, the difference between Shores and to-do is that Shores is supposed to be something more recurring, more permanent, things like cleaning the toilet or doing the dishes. And if you see here, Kiani is assigned to do the dishes. And let's say that she has done her fair share of dishes for the week and you want to reassign it to someone else. You can click the reassign button here and then reassign this to someone. Now you can manually assign it. I can manually assign it to myself, or I can just roll the dice, just in case, to avoid that family drama. So let's just let the dice decide, and Hiro gets it. I'm gonna press save here. You can see the photo has been updated also with the assignee. And if you want to remind dad, in this case, that a new Shores has been assigned to him, you can add this to the to-do here. And if you go back to the to-do list, you can see that a new to-do has come up with the dad assigned to it. And that is the current version of OneRoof. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now we're going to talk about how we made this app.
Thanks, Jay. So what was OneRoof built on? As far as the front end goes, we utilized Vue and a lot of the things that come along with Vue. We especially focused on using Vuex and the Vue global state management solution to make sure that a lot of our data was easily shared between the various modules. So our user data had to be shared by the to-do module and the chore module, and having the Vuex store right there in the center made all of the sharing of stateful data really, really easy. As far as the backend goes, we actually had two parallel processes going at the same time. So for our more static data, such as user data or chore data or to-do data, those are stored in a Postgres relational database. And we wrote a server using TypeScript and GraphQL to serve all that data to the front end. And we use TypeORM as well to manage our data migrations. As far as our chats go, those need to be much more reactive. And so we utilize the Firebase real-time database, which is serverless, and was able to is able to immediately pick up the chats and show them laser quickly. We also use Firebase authentication, and Firebase helps us store our user photos as well. As you just saw, we built this around a progressive web application architecture to help make sure that the app feels native both on desktop and on mobile, so that it's equally usable for people who prefer to use a computer or prefer to use their phones.
All right, thanks a lot, Pete. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the challenges, and then I'll pass it on for the learnings. So the live version of our application is deployed on the Google Cloud platform. And this is probably one of the areas where we saw some of the most trouble. So I'm going to go through a couple caveats that we face. So we'll go through the services, configuration, and deployment. So first, let's take a look at GCP services. So this was a challenge because GCP itself has many services available. And at first, it was very difficult to understand what services that we would need for our specific app. So after reading through some documentation, which took quite some time, we ended up choosing App Engine for deploying the app itself. And then we used the Cloud SQL Postgres database that was in the cloud. And then GCP configuration was also quite a challenge. This is because within GCP, there are many things you have to configure in order for these services like App Engine and the Cloud SQL to communicate with each other. We have things such as proper API configuration, making sure we have the correct APIs enabled so that they can speak between services. And then service config. So with services, they each have their own service account. And it's important to make sure that these service accounts have the proper roles in order to access each individual service. And then network configuration. For example, we had to make sure that our Cloud SQL database had open connection coming from App Engine. And then also local configuration. This part was quite difficult because we needed to configure our app locally in order to make a connection to the Cloud SQL database before deploying it. So for example, we had to go through our connection configuration to make sure our host was properly set. And then we also, one of the biggest issues was for a while, we didn't realize we needed that App Engine uses a socket path also with the host name in order to make a connection to the Cloud SQL. And then also deployment configuration. When you deploy the application to Google Cloud, you have to use an app.yaml file, which is used to choose your runtime, which in this case would be Node.js, your particular environment for App Engine, and then what kind of static files you're going to be serving. And then for the GCP deployment itself, we ran into a lot of, this was the challenge because we ran into issues of not being able to make a connection to the SQL database. So we could make the connection locally to the cloud, but we couldn't make it make a connection to the cloud after it was deployed. So this definitely took some time to go through. And then also compiling errors. Whenever we would deploy to GCP, our TypeScript backend wouldn't compile properly to JavaScript in order to run our start scripts. So we ended up having to build and compile locally and then push it to the cloud. And that's part of the reason why we needed to use a custom configuration for the deployment itself. All right, so now I will pass it on.
Thank you, Evan. Now, one of the learnings that we learned while working on this app was that how important it is that we come up with a standardized code base. Basically, half of us were writing in async await and half of us were not. And everything worked fine until it didn't. And what happened was we also didn't talk about where we would do our fetch requests from. Should we do it from the main app, or do we do it from the module, from the components, or from the pop-up windows and things like that? And when we route the user, sometimes we would route them before having that data already available. So it goes back to the first point, because when we tried to refactor our code, it was very difficult to read because it was all over the place. And lastly, we didn't have a naming conventions Some of us were calling it home and house key, house keys, user and users, and it was just all over the place and caused a lot of confusion. And we learned really quickly to just set a standardized name and just put it somewhere and have everyone follow that.
Thank you very much, Jay. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the modularity aspect of OneRoof. So first, we needed to figure out the best approach for a solid modular design. At first, we had something that was just a little bit too simple, so we needed to make it more robust in order to easily implement future modules, which took full advantage of Vuex in the global stage to ensure that the data flow was going in the right places at the right times. And thanks to this, in the future, we can ensure that the users are easily able to download the future modules and also download them easily. And with that, let's talk a little bit about the future. So for our future plans, we can break it down to 4 core aspects. The first one being the chat. And you can think of something such as Discord or Slack, which you can create different channels for specific topics. So let's just say you have maybe a movie night coming up or maybe a different event. You can create a channel just for that so you don't pollute the general chat. And also we want to ensure that each chat is searchable for ease of use. Of course, we also plan to add admin permissions just in case one of the kids gets a little mischievous and wants to delete a to-do before they actually completed that to-do. We can ensure that the parents or the owners of the house have full control over that with admin permissions. Next, we want to improve the ecosystem. We want to add module expansions, more on that later, and we want to ensure that they're all interoperable to make sure that they work alone or with other modules in OneRoof. And of course, we want to add more extras, such as expansion purchases, which the users can purchase any sort of module they wish to use, personal themes that better reflect the user's personalities, and they can have more fun while using OneRoof. And of course, notifications that are not limited to the app, but also push notifications to your phone or your device of choice. Finally, let's go ahead and dive into the future extensions for OneRoof. So for our OneRoof extensions, we have 2 core aspects. We want to make sure that they're easily downloadable and that they're all interoperable. So earlier during the demo, we saw the chores. So let's jump right into the kitchen. So our kitchen module will be able to store recipes, shopping lists, and also be a meal planner. And you can assign the shopper with the chores module. You can do that manually or automatically using the randomizing feature to ensure that there's no drama in the household. Also, we'd like to add a photo album, which you can upload photos to a cloud, and you can tag fellow housemates within it. And they'll be notified. They could go ahead, take a look, and ask you to delete it if it's not so flattering. So be sure to be on the lookout for future modules, such as the calendar one as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is OneRoof, our senior project for Code Chrysalis, a communication, messaging, and organizational app that helps households connect, function, and thrive. If you would like to use it, you could go ahead and use the link down below, oneroof.dev. Or you can go ahead and scan this QR code on the right-hand side. If you would like to contact us or if you have any feedback, you can go ahead and contact us over here at our LinkedIn's, our Twitter handles, or also at our GitHub handles listed here. Thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy OneRoof.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Thank you.
Awesome job, Fruity Raptors. What a wonderful presentation. I love how welcoming OneRoof feels to use, and I really wish that I had an app like this available with certain roommate situations I had in the past. So yeah, thank you so much. And next up, we have another exciting presentation for you all by Team MoneySprouts, presenting their app of the same name, MoneySprouts, which helps users track their monthly finances while empowering them to positively impact the environment. All right, Team MoneySprouts, take it away.
Thank you very much, Shivani, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight to see all the wonderful demonstrations we've seen so far. We're Team MoneySprouts, and we'd like to introduce our Code Chrysalis senior project to you now. It is called MoneySprouts. But before we begin, please let us introduce ourselves. My name is Michael, and I am the tech lead, and I worked on the front end on this project.
Hi, my name is David, and I was a full stack developer on the team.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex, and I was as well a full stack developer on the team.
And I'm Julie. I worked on the front end for this project.
My name is Russell, and I was also a full stack developer.
Thank you, everybody. So what is MoneySprouts? Well, our motto behind this project is get in the black by going green. And in a few words, MoneySprouts is a progressive web app that helps users save money while positively impacting the environment. Our finances are such a huge part of our lives, and it's usually on the forefront of our minds. But also another important part of our lives is our environment, the very place we live. So when designing MoneySprouts, we built it with two pillars in mind. The first was the application as an expense app, where the user would be able to set, understand, and control their monthly budget, as well as set savings goals and targets while getting instant feedback about their current financial situation. The second pillar that we built MoneySprouts on was as a tool to spread environmental awareness. So when the user uses MoneySprouts, they're able to be educated about environmental issues, as well as being able to set small, achievable environmental goals that they can actively set forth to positively impact the environment. So now to discuss who might benefit from MoneySprouts, I'll pass it on to David.
Thank you, Michael. Our first persona is Bree St. Nectar, a 24-year-old marketing assistant. Like many people, Bree wants to save money regularly, but she doesn't know where her income goes. And she's also tried several accounting softwares over the years, but she's found most of them to be too complicated to realistically keep track of her spending. And she doesn't really want to spend too much time inputting data when she's using an app. Our second persona is Roberto Romero, a 27-year-old part-time clerk. And Roberto tends to impulse buy frequently and spends more than he would like on groceries. He would like to have an app that can easily tell him how much is reasonable to spend. And he also wants to save in the next 6 months to finance a trip to Tuscany. Our third persona is Kimiko Takahashi, a 53-year-old homemaker. And for most of her life, she's used the traditional Kakebo household accounts ledger to keep track of her expenses. And she noticed her children, now adults, are environmentally conscious, and she tries to eliminate paper waste from their lifestyle. Kimiko is now looking for a more eco-friendly digital solution. Now, Michael will take us into a demo.
Thank you, David. So as Roberto, I'll go ahead and log in to my MoneySprouts account. And upon logging in, I'll be taken to the home screen. So I have a nice welcome message, and I can see my echo actions. Nice, I have 37 MoneySprouts. I know I get MoneySprouts whenever I complete an echo action, so I'll try and get more here in a second. Here's my current spending. I can see that so far I've spent 61% of my monthly budget, and that's represented in the red. And so the green also gives me a good visualization of how much I have left to spend this month. If I stop spending money today, I could potentially save 109,000 yen out of my monthly budget. I can see that my monthly income is 280,000 yen, and I can see how many expenses I've accumulated so far this month. At the bottom of the screen, I can see a did you know box. This teaches me something about the environment. In this case, aluminum cans can be recycled continuously. That's good to know. So now I'm at the grocery store and I've just checked out, and I think I want to input an expense. So I'll start by setting today's date. And I spent 1,000 yen on dinner ingredients. Now I can put that into 4 categories, either groceries, bills, transport, or miscellaneous. Since these are dinner ingredients, I'll go ahead and set that as a groceries expense. And now I can check my echo actions. These are things that I can do to positively impact the environment. The first one is I used an echo bag, or I didn't use a bag. This time at the store, I brought my own echo bag. So I'll go ahead and check this one off. Next, I didn't impulse purchase anything. Well, even though I'm saying this is dinner ingredients that I bought here at the store, the truth is I kind of snuck in a bag of chips at the cash register at the last minute when I really didn't mean to. So I'll keep myself honest. I can't say that I didn't impulse purchase anything, so I'll leave this one unchecked. The next is I took eco-conscious transport. Well, I walked to the store this time, So I can go ahead and check that one. The last one is I didn't take an echo action. And thankfully, that's not true this time. I did 2 echo actions. Next, I'll submit, and I'll go back to the home screen. So now, sweet, I have 39 MoneySprouts. My echo actions increased. And down here, my expenses also increased. It tracked the 1,000 yen I spent at the grocery store. Going to my monthly budget screen, I can update various values here. For example, I've been doing pretty well at work. My boss has been happy with me, and I got a raise. Nice. The future is looking bright. And I can go back to the home screen. And there it is. We can see the 5 yen increase in my potential savings as well as my income. So the application also tracks those values as well. Now, looking at my echo actions, a number is nice, but we all love bar charts. So clicking this button, I can get a bar chart visual representation of how well I've been doing on my echo actions so far this month. So down here on the x-axis, we have our echo bag, no bag echo action, no impulse purchase echo action, and echo conscious transport echo action. I can see that so far this month, I've been doing okay with echo bags and echo conscious transport, but aha, my weakness is those impulse purchases. So seeing this, I'm inspired to not impulse purchase next time I go to the grocery store to see if I can get this bar a little bit higher over the course of the month. At the bottom, I have a text description of the data here in the bar chart. That concludes the demonstration. Next, I'll pass it on to Russell, who will tell you more about the technical aspects of MoneySprouts.
Thank you, Michael, for the demonstration. And yes, I would like to introduce some of the technologies that we used for our app. So starting with the front end, our language of choice was JavaScript, and we used a Vuex framework for the creation of the web app. We decided on Vuex since some of the team was more familiar with this framework and the other remaining members wanted a new challenge. You can also see that we used chartJS, and this is what we had for having our graphics rendered. For our backend, we decided to go with a different language, which was better suited for backend servers, and we chose Python. Using Python, we set up a REST API server using Flask. And our reasoning for choosing Python over JavaScript in the backend was due to the large community backend and the wealth of libraries available. It was our thinking that for any future feature implementations, having more libraries would make these implementations easier. For our database, we used Postgres, and for deployment, we utilized AWS and its web services. Our web app is now running on an instance of Ubuntu, and we have all the files being served using an HTTPS web server through Nginx. And we're also using a WSGI tool called Gunicorn. So moving on to our next slide, here we can see a breakdown of our database. Our database needed to be complex enough for keeping track of the relationship between the user and their expenses and any equal goals or action they may have. So just for a brief example, on the left-hand side over here, you can see how our user table is set up. The user is just for authentication purposes like logging in. But in this chart, you can actually see the various connections from the user table to other tables in a relational manner. Next, we're going to have our full stack developer, Alex, speak on some of the challenges that we faced.
Thank you, Russell. So indeed, because this project was the biggest one of the biggest project we worked on during the whole Code Chrysalis immersive course, it has its own set of challenges. The first challenges we faced was about the deployment of a multi-language application. So as you saw in Russell's slide, this application had a lot of moving parts, and making sure that all those moving parts communicated one with each other and were properly configured took a lot of time for us. And but the flip side of the coin was that it was a great learning experience. The second challenge we faced was purely UI and design related. So we discussed a long time to strike the right balance between an UI that was too simple but offered too few functionalities, and a UI that would be too complicated and too confusing, but would be powerful enough to attract the user with good features. And last but not least, our third challenge was a configuration challenge when we noticed that one of the library we were using, so the library between our Python backend and our database, was not compatible with the new Apple M1 chip. So the difficulty in that was to find that actually was not our code that was at fault, but to find that a lot of other people all over the world had exactly the same issue at the same time than us, which was an interesting experience in itself. Now, moving on to another learning that we had during this course. This learning was related to progressive web application. So as Chris mentioned during the first group, we had a lot of groups in CodeChrysalis use this framework. So just 2 words about this. This is a set of constraints around web pages that enable a web page to be installed and behave very similarly than a native web app. So an application dedicated to iOS and to your iPhone or to your Android phone. So Google pushed that very strongly in 2015, and after other players like Apple and Microsoft joined in 2019. So it's relatively a recent technology. And it's a set of 4 constraints. First, the app has to be fast and accessible to target as many people as possible. Secondly, the app has to be served across HTTPS to make sure to have a secure and encrypted connection. Third, the app has to offer the ability to work offline in the case the connection drops or in the case the user uses their phone in the plane. And last, we have to add a lot of metadata, for example, a whole suite of icons to make sure that like the icon of the app can be installed in any configuration, any screen, any resolution of screen. And Google offers an audit tool, which is called Lighthouse, which enables programmers to see how they fare across all those dimensions. And we are very happy to notice that we have had the perfect score in accessibility, best practices, and SEO, but there is still a bit of work to be done on the performance side of things. So thank you very much again, and I will pass the baton to Julie, who will explain the future features of the app.
Thank you very much, Alex. So now that we have seen the app in action and heard about what is going on with the tech behind the scenes, I'm going to take us through some of the exciting future features that we have planned for MoneySprouts. One of the features we have planned is to allow users to see how they compare with the average of users that have similar situations, for example, family size or income. As Russell mentioned earlier, we chose Python for the backend, and we did this in part so that in future we could utilize its machine learning capabilities with this feature in mind. We also want to supply users with a larger range of templates and not just the current setup. The templates will provide easy onboarding for users to get started with their budgeting and environmental goals. But not only do we want to offer our users templates, we also want to offer them customization. At the moment, as you've seen in Michael's demo, we have preset categories already defined with 4 categories for expenses and 3 categories for environmental goals. We would like to offer users the ability to create a more unique experience for themselves by giving them a feature that lets them create their own categories for both of these things. Another thing that we would like to do is focus a little more actively on the environmental features. The features we have now are mostly passive, but we would like to implement a way for users to do things like make charitable donations, or for example, plant a tree if they meet their goals. In future, we would also like to implement a receipt scanner feature. This would allow users to use their smartphones to take a picture of a receipt and have that autofill the expense input data on the add expenses screen for easier expense data entry. Lastly, we want our users to have the ability for multi-account access. This would give users a way to have more than one account and allow more than one user to access the same account. So this would be useful for users that are using the app, for example, for household budgeting. So all household members would be able to access the same account. We look forward to enhancing MoneySprouts with these features in the future, and we hope that you look forward to them too. So now I'll pass it back to Michael.
Thank you, Julie. And that concludes our presentation tonight. If you'd like to reach out to any of us individually, you're more than welcome to via our GitHub handles or our LinkedIn handles. And we'd like to congratulate the other teams tonight for all their hard work and their fabulous applications. We'd like to thank the staff and instructors at Code Chrysalis for their continued support. And we'd like to thank you for coming out tonight and giving us your time and attention. We'd like to also encourage you to get in the black by going green with MoneySprouts. So thank you very much. Good night.
Yay! Awesome, awesome presentation, Team MoneySprouts. That was wonderful, and I'm so excited to use MoneySprouts as a way to consistently and concretely track how environmentally friendly my spending habits are. What a useful application. And with that, we are actually concluded with our presentation portion of this event. So we just saw 4 amazing apps. Now I'm going to move into some closing words. Thank you all who are still watching for sticking around. Thank you everyone in our community for supporting us. And thank you to the students who put an immense amount of effort into bringing these applications here for you today to see. So for CC19, they're actually just about less than 24 hours away from graduating. I'm really sad to see them go, but I'm also primarily just so excited for them to begin their transition into joining the ranks of engineers in the outside world. I think they have so much talent to bring. One thing that really struck me with all the apps we saw today is just how genuinely life improving they are. We have like apps like Get Guides to encourage you to explore and learn more about your surroundings, Savored trying new recipes, OneRoof for improving your daily household things, and MoneySprouts for getting your expenses and getting your expenses in order and making you more environmentally conscious in the process. I was just blown away by that, and I think it really demonstrates some of the major strengths that this cohort as a whole has demonstrated. Overall, there's so much empathy there in the way they deal with others and in the way they've constructed their projects for their users. And of course, the amazing communication skills and autonomy, as well as the technical skills, of course, that were necessary for bringing these projects together in just about 3 weeks. So what you see here today, or what you just watched, is the conclusion of a 12-week program that is super intensive and super grueling, and they made it through, and they're coming out and they're ready for you, so you should hire them if you're watching and you're looking for someone to hire. And with that, I just want to share a little bit of information before we go about some upcoming fun events that we have for you. So let me share my screen so I can show you what we've got going on. So first of all, save the date for Hackathon Night coming up with our API Night partner, and that will be happening on June 25th. We also, of course, have upcoming course deadlines. So we have the immersive full-time program coming up in September, where you can learn to do what you saw the students here learn to do today. And we have our immersive part-time. So this is for people who maybe want to be able to balance their work life or their career currently, along with learning new coding skills. So we have that in Japanese and English. If you are interested, the deadlines and information are all on our website as well. And if you feel like you need a little more help to get going with coding and to build some foundational knowledge, we have our Foundations program, which would be perfect for you. And we have an upcoming course in August for that as well. If you're not even sure if coding is right for you, that's totally okay. And we actually have free JavaScript workshops that you can take part in and get your hands dirty and see how you feel about it. And we have those also available in English and Japanese. Please come join us. And that is all. So you can see how to contact us here. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel to keep in tune with what our students will be creating next. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you everyone watching, and thank you to our students. See you at the next event.